because I need to upload it on our site. Yes, over to you, Prabhuji. Take it over. Yeah. Hare
Yes,
Krishna.
Prabhu. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, you're audible, Prabhuji. You're very well audible.
Okay, thank you very much. I will just share my screen once again.
Yes, Prabhuji, the screen also has come.
Okay. Hare Krishna. So the agenda for the meeting was to understand matchmaking and marriage with the insight or in line with the astrology, no, Vedic astrology. So we all have been we have learned a lot about matchmaking and all. We have learned from others, but basically we all see that in the society around us, people go for the matchmaking only with the concept of guna matching, actually, which is known as the Ashtakota matching. So Ashtakota matching is very basic when we go for matchmaking. So in today's presentation, we will see that what are the other aspects and all which we have to take into consideration when we go for the matchmaking and all. So in order to understand the role of astrology in matchmaking, firstly, we should have some kind of a faith, Shraddha has to be there in understanding that, yes, astrology does play a role in our lives, and specifically in this case. So for that, see, even when we sort of preach to people outside, to a sort of newcomer, so we don't straight away give him the philosophy of sort of bhakti and all. Firstly, we take him to the presentation of, like we do sort of device for him, so that he develops some kind of a faith or shraddha in the science. And then when the faith is there, the person then takes it up. So I thought that before going into the actual topic of astrology, we can cover up three topics today. First is the history of astrology, its relevance in our lives, actually, because that phase should first come that, yeah, astrology is really sort of relevant in our lives and all. And in second part, we will cover some basic concepts of astrology. So before we go to the matchmaking part, there are some rules, regulations, some sort of terminologies are there. So for you to correlate with that, it is very important that we first understand those things. So we will cover that in that part, and then finally we will come to the point how to match, how to do the matchmaking as per the Jyotish Vidya. So importance of Vedic astrology. Firstly, we have to understand that Jyotish Shastra is very prehistoric times. Like we know that the Vedas are very prehistoric. It comes from Brahma. Actually, the Brahma's four heads represent the four Vedas, and the Vedangas are said to be the prerequisite to study the Vedas, actually. And the Vedangas are generally considered six angas of Vedangas. Actually, have six angas. One second, there is some issue.
Any issue, Prahladnath Prabhu?
Yeah, I'm not able to see the entire screen, actually, the bottom part. So, one second.
We are
Okay.
able to see that chart that you have put Vedangas into
Okay.
6 parts. Yeah.
Okay, fine. So the Vedangas are actually Vedangas are having the 6 angas. So they are nearly, first one is the, it's not going ahead, I don't know why. Yeah. The first anga is known as sort of Vyakarna, which is considered as the sort of mouth of the Vedas. Then comes the Shiksha part. It deals with the pronunciation part of the Vedic mantras. It is considered as the nose of the Vedas. Then comes the Jyotisha part, which is the eyes, Nirukta, which is the ears, Chanda, which is the feet, and there's some issue with screen sharing. Just a second, Prabhuji. I'm having some issue with screen sharing. Once. Okay. And the last part was Kalpa Sutra, actually part. So these are the 6 angas of the Vedanga, of the Vedas actually, which are very important for the studying of the Vedas. So Jyotisha is termed as the eyes of the Vedanga. So it is a very important science. So if you want to study the Vedas, Jyotisha is also a relevant part of that actually. So we will go to the history of how Jyotish Shastra was evolved. So it dates back to the Veda part actually. You can see the Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Atharvaveda. They all have the references of Jyotish Shastra actually. And in the Puranic period also, we see that many sort of rishis like Vasishtha Muni, then Atri Muni, Parashar Muni, Kashyap Muni, Bhrigu Muni, etc. They have worked a lot towards the development of this science. Then comes the Parashara period, which is from 3000 OPC to 57 AD. So in this part only, this main concept of astrology got evolved. So the person who did this was Parashara Muni, who is the father of Vyasa. He spoke to Maitra Muni, and this was compiled in the form of a book known as Brihat Parashara Hosasatra. So that is the main book of astrology. And from there only, later on, many other sciences have come, like Jaimini Muni came, he brought in the Jaimini Sutras, then Sarga Muni came, he brought in the Sarga Samhita. So after that, we see the period of Varamira. So in Varamira time, we can see that he was an astrologer in the court of King Vikramaditya. So Varamira has done a lot of research into astrology also. And at that time, there were few things which are set. There is a concept in astrology known as Ayanamsha. So that constant has to be done, sort of revised every year in the calculation part. So Vikram Samvata is the time where we consider that as a sort of 0 year in Hindu calendar actually. And nowadays, whatever Hindu calendar is there, you can see it dates at like the age is 2023, we have to add 57 to that. So that forms the period. And Paramira also had written the Brahat Jataka. So that is a prehistory of Jyotish Shastra. Now we come to the different branches of Jyotish Shastra. So Jyotisha actually comes from the word combination of 2 words. It is known as Jyoti and Isha. Jyoti means the light and Isha means the Lord actually. So it is a science through which we can see things around us in the right perspective, actually. Okay, so we can understand. For example, when an individual is there, so he behaves in a specific way, he speaks in a specific way, his attributes, his personality is very sort of specific. So with the science of Jyotisha, we can really understand that how it is like that, why some things are happening in my life in a specific way. So we will just go through it, how it happens. So astrology has basically three branches. The first one is known as the Siddhanta. So Siddhanta is mainly into the mathematical part of the Jyotish Shastra. We see, because there are so many heavenly planets in the sky, so this deals with the sort of distances between the planets, their speed, rotation, angles, geometry, and all. So the mathematical part of the Jyotisha comes into the Siddhanta part. So there are actually 18 Siddhantas on which it is based, but the five prominent are like the Surya Siddhanta, Paulisha, Romaka, Vasishtha, Pitama, and all. So that is the mathematical part of the astrology. Then comes the Samhitas. Samhita means the mundane astrology, like what is happening around us, like how much rainfall will be there. See, earlier times, this science was used very extensively by the kings. Okay, so the kings had many Brahmin scholars in their court. So they used to predict that कि अगले साल कितना बारिश आने वाला है, whether there will be any calamity around, whether there will be any famine, drought, rainfall. So it helped them to understand and prepare very accordingly. And third part is known as the horoscopes, which normally we understand as the astrology. Here we study the horoscopes of the individual. Okay, and the Muhurta part is also a part of this astrology. So these are the basically the branches of astrology. So why I'm sort of speaking this, because when we come sort of later to the part of matchmaking, we will understand few things which are very much very much connected to it. So firstly, we have to understand what exactly is the zodiac in Jyotish Shastra. So in Vedic system, we follow the geocentric model of astrology. So geocentric matlab ki the earth is at the center and all the heavenly bodies, the planets around, they are rotating around the earth actually. Western astrology, they take heliocentric way. They say the sun is in the center and everything is going around. But in Vedic astrology, we follow the geocentric way. So when we consider Earth as the center of the everything, so everything is going around Earth. Okay. So the sun also revolves around the Earth. So when the sun is revolving, it is following a specific path. So the path of the sun around the Earth is called as the ecliptic of the sun. So when we take 8 degrees above and 8 degrees below that, so we form a band actually. Okay. So this band is what is called as the zodiac. This is the band where all the constellations are present. Okay, so there are around 27 nakshatras as per astrology, and these are in some specific order, and these 27 the nakshatra form the entire zodiac around us. And depending upon these nakshatras, we get 12 rashis also. So every rashi has about 3 nakshatras actually, and some nakshatras overlap over some rashis also. So this you should understand ki when we see from the perspective, if somebody is in the sky, and he will see that the earth is there, sun is there, all the planets are there, and the band around is known as the zodiac. So this will help you to understand how a birth chart is cast actually. So that will come then next. So firstly, we have to understand what are these rashis and planets, how they behave actually. This is very important when we come to the horoscope part. So the 12 rashis are there. So the rashis are differentiated based on different characteristics actually. For example, the rashis can be of different element, like a fiery, earthy, area, water. Fiery means Agni Tattva, then Prithvi Tattva, Vayu Tattva, yeah, Jala Tattva. Then the Rashis are also characterized as a female Rashi or male Rashi. So those Rashis, there are sort of 12 Rashis in the order of 1 to 12. So the odd ones are known as the male Rashis and the even ones are known as the female Rashis. Then Rashis can be either movable Rashi like Chara, then fixed type which is known as Sthira Rashi, and dual type which is known as the Dvisvabhava Rashis actually. So each Rashi also has a ruler, like there are sort of Navagrahas, and each Rashi is ruled by a specific planet. So here we can see there are sort of the Rashis like Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra. So these are the 12 Rashis, and we can see that each Rashi is having a specific nature. For example, Aries is fiery in nature, its gender is male, modality is movable, and it is ruled by Mars. So we'll come to the next slide. You will see that if somebody is born in the Aries Lagna, so he will have all the am I audible?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Fine, fine.
Yes,
Okay, there are 5 planets actually. The main planets are Venus, Mercury, Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars. And there are the sort of luminaries like the sun and the moon. Okay. And there are 2 more planets. Okay. So at the time of your zone, actually, that is the east part, and the east, west, north, south is there actually. Okay. So when an individual is born, Rashi is on the rise. That Rashi determines your Lagna. It may be any Rashi because the Rashis keep on revolving around this circle, and the Rashis, like every 2 hours, the Rashis change. So, for example, here are the sort of numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. These are actually houses, Bhavas actually. The entire at the time of your birth, when you're born, so there is a sort of picture taken, okay, from the top. And at that time, whichever planets are there, whatever sort of positions are there, and whatever sort of Rashis are there, so that is your print form of your horoscope actually. So this is generally your horoscope. And in this horoscope, then you have the various of the planets. But firstly, you need to understand the different bhavas of the horoscope, what they, because unless you understand the bhavas of the horoscope, you will not be able to understand how we match the horoscopes. Okay. So, Lagna is sort of first house actually. So Lagna Rashi shows the physical attributes of an individual. And at the time of birth, moon, whichever Rashi is sort of moon present, that shows the mental attributes of that individual. So when we do the horoscope matching, these things are very important to understand the physical nature and the mental attributes of the individual. So that is also considered in matchmaking. See the 12 houses of the chart. They are also categorized in the form of Purushartha aspect, that see, this is the first house, second house, third house, whatever numbers you see, these are the 12 bhavas in a chart. So 1, 5, and 9, they are known as the Dharma Trikona houses. Okay. Then 2, 6, and 10 are known as the Artha Trikona. Then Kama Trikona and Moksha Trikona. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is 1 Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha represents these aspects in relation to yourself. Then the second phase of the Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha represents you and your immediate family and expansion. Then the third part, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, is society in general, your role in society in general. Okay. So the first bhava of the horoscope is actually you as a person, you as an individual. So that shows your personality. The second bhava of the horoscope shows your family, your kutumba actually. It shows your wealth, assets. It is also a part of the speech actually. So if some sort of malefic planet is present in this part, in second bhava, then we can say that person's speech will be very harsh, aggressive and all. The third bhava is known as the Parakrama bhava. So the Parakrama bhava shows how much aggression you have, how much you are adventurous in life. This bhava also shows your brothers and sisters. Okay, छोटे भाई बहन जो बोलते हैं हम लोग. This house is also the house of communication. This shows how well one is able to communicate with others. Then this is the fourth bhava. This is known as Sukha bhava. The Sukha bhava means your mother actually, your home, your atmosphere. It also shows the vehicles and your property, etc. Then comes the fifth bhava. The Pancham bhava is known as the Puri Punva bhava. Your past life punyas are seen from this bhava. It is also Putra bhava, your children. For some time when this house is afflicted, it shows one will have some issues in having the kids and all. So in matchmaking, we also see this. The sixth bhava is known as, it is a bhava which has Rog, Rin, and Ripu. That house of debts, litigations, accidents, or some diseases, and Shad Ripu. This is the seventh bhava is known as the house of spouse actually. So this is the main house of your partnerships and all. The eighth bhava is known as Ayush bhava. The one's longevity is seen from this bhava actually. One's longevity, then some chronic diseases and all is seen from this bhava. Then ninth bhava is the house of religion, your guru, spiritual master, your father also is seen from this house. Your long journeys are seen from this house. The 10th bhava is your house of profession, your karma sthana. It shows how you act. It also shows your status in the society. Then this 11th bhava shows how much you will gain from your profession and all. It also shows the desires, fulfillment of your desires. It also shows the wealth also. So 2 and 11 shows your wealth. Then 12th bhava is moksha bhava also. It is house of expenses, foreign travel. If somebody is going to stay in the foreign for a long time, that is seen from the 12th bhava actually. So 12th bhava also means jail, asylums and all. So this is the basic what the different bhavas of a horoscope are. And these bhavas are used when we go for the matchmaking part. Then you have to understand there is a concept of Dasha system in astrology. So Parashara Muni has sort of specified one very beautiful concept of Vimshottari Dasha. He has specified that all the planets sort of together, they have a span of 120 years in one's life. So these Navgravahas, how they deal actually, when a planet so Dasha starts, so that planet, whichever area is ruling in your horoscope, then those aspects of life are very active or important. So this is known as a Mahadasha period. Every planet has a period. I will show you how many periods are there. Like these are the planets actually. So this is the specific order of the planets. Ketu is 7 years, Venus 20, Sun is 6, Moon is 10. So, yeah. So when an individual is born, at that time, Moon is placed in a specific sort of nakshatra at that time. So according to Moon's placement, the Lord of that nakshatra will define what will be the Mahadasha of that person to start with. And then according to that, his Mahadashas are in role. Like if he's, for example, in the chart, you can see Moon is placed in Uttar Bhadrapada. So this is the Uttara Bhadrapada. It is ruled by Saturn. So Saturn's span is around 19 years. So how much Moon has already advanced in that Rashi, depending upon we apportion the number of years, and then we calculate how much pending is there actually. Then after Saturn, he will run through Mercury, Adasha, and then he will go to Ketu. So this is very important when we do the sort of matchmaking, because we should know कि इस individual की कौन सी महादशा start है, the boy and the girl की, and accordingly we can do some calculations actually, which will come at a later stage. Okay, so now these were the few concepts to understand, which will be very helpful now to see in matchmaking part what rules and regulations we use actually. So when you have two horoscopes of the boy and the girl, so the first basic thing we do is the Ashtakuta match actually. The Ashtakuta match is based on the nakshatras actually. So there are some 8 points. Okay, in some places they do sort of the Shakuta part also. In some places they go for the other Shakuta also. So in Ashtakuta matching there are different sort of criteria like the Varna, Vaishya, Tara, Yoni, Graha, Maitri, Kana. This is what we do in the outside world. There are many softwares available online, and people generally go, they type the DOB of the boy and the girl, everything, and they see out of 36 how many gunas we are having. So it is said that if you have above 18, it's good. Then go for the match. It is saying if you have having below 18, then. But this is the very basic concept of doing the guna matching. I think here only the sort of Nadi system has to be seen. The Nadi dosh is very critical. That has to be seen while doing the matchmaking. Otherwise, this is a very basic way of doing the horoscope match. So just coming to the previous slide again, when we are doing some study on the matchmaking part, we found that there were we got some cases where the gunas were matching 32 plus also, 32, 34 out of 36. So, but these people had severe issues in their life, married life. And we have even seen cases where there is a very poor match actually, 17, 15 also, but that marriage is going very smooth. So matchmaking should be done actually beyond this sort of this system of Ashtakuta and all, because this is a very basic concepts. How things hold in life depends upon the planetary positions in your horoscope actually. And there are various systems to analyze. There are many sort of yogas to see. There may be hundreds of them, but obviously we cannot go to all the hundreds. So I have just sort of listed a few here, which have to be seen when we do the matchmaking. So when an individual is born, at the time, there is some sort of nakshatra present in his Janmatstan. For example, if he is born in Ashwini, so we have to make 3 categories of 9 nakshatras each. And the 3rd, 5th, and 7th are very critical actually. So in the boy's horoscope, okay, if he's born in some specific nakshatra, then those nakshatras in 3rd, 5th, and 7th from here, they are not good to match. For example, if a boy is born in Ashwini, Then the girl should not be from Kritika, Uttar Falguni, or Uttar Ashada. Then she should not be from the Mrigashira, Chitra, or Dhanistha. Then she should not be from the Punarvasu, Vishakha, and Purvabhadra. So this is also seen. Otherwise, there is some issues in the marriage. Then this is the most important part, which we will see now. See, this is a horoscope which you can see. Now I have specified the Lagna Lord of one chart should not be at 212 or 618. Dui, Dwadasha or Shada Astaka from each other actually. So this is applied to the Lagna Kundli also and to the Chandra Kundli also. What exactly it means? So I have a sort of specific case where this is the horoscope of the boy and these are the girl. So they are husband and wife. They have severe issues in their life actually. So we can see, for example, okay. So the Lagna Lord here in this horoscope is Venus. So Venus is placed in the house number 4 here. Okay. And the Lagna Lord in this chart is Mercury, which is placed in the 12th house here. Okay. So we can see with reference to Venus, Mercury is placed in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it is a 5-9 match. So that is a bad match. Then we see the Lagna Lord. Then the second rule is the 7th Lord of one chart should not be at 212 or 68 from other. So 7th Lord here is Mangal. So Mangal is, you can see, is present in 9th house. In this chart, the 7th Lord is Jupiter. Jupiter is present here. So when you superimpose this chart on this, we can see Jupiter is placed in this house. So from Mangala, the Jupiter is Dui Dwadasha. That is a Dui Dwadasha rule. Then we see the 7th Lord is okay done. Then the as per Jaimini astrology rule, it also says Darapada or Upada Lagna. It is a very beautiful concept which is not there in sort of Parashara system. It is in Jaimini system. It says from the Upada Lagna also, the board Kundlis, the Lagna Lord should not be 212 or 68 from each other. But in this case also it is having the same. So we can see there is a lot of issue in the marriage. So what exactly happens? So this 212, 68, what exactly happens? I will tell you. If this is the boy's chart, this is the girl's chart. Okay. So when you impose the Lagna, for example, it is 212. So in astrology, there is a rule. For example, if this is the house, so this is house number 1, this is house number 2. So the second house is always giving the gains to the first house, and the 12th house is always giving the loss to the first house. Okay, so this is the rule in the astrology. So when the planets or their lords, as I told about, are in Dui Dwadasha or Shada Astaka from each other, so what happens when it is in second form? So it will affect the first house. So the first house is the individual or you itself. So after the marriage, you will be having serious health issues or serious problem with reference to yourself. And Dwadasha means 12 number is this part. So we do Dwadasha means when it is in 12 number, so the 11th house will be at loss. Okay. So 11th loss, so the 11th house means the gains actually, the wealth actually. So there will be severe loss to the boy or girl with reference to his wealth or gains in life. So when it is in Shad Astaka from the 6th house represents, so this is the 6th house. So 12 from this will be your Putra Bhava actually. So when the combination is of 6, 8, so 5th will be at loss because it is 12 from the 5th house, that's 6th house. So there will be issues with reference to, having a child. Okay. And it will be also affecting your buddhi. Okay. And 6, 8. 8th house is your Ayusha part. The 12th house will be at loss. So 12th house will be at loss means it will be lost to the marriage actually. So these combinations are very critical to we see which normally people don't see when they do the matchmaking. So if some Lagna Lord, 7th Lord or 7th Arud are at 6, 8 combination, 2, 12 combination, then that is a very bad match. And this thing we cannot see in the Gunam matching, which we have seen the Gunam matching part, which is known as Ashtakuta part. These things are not reflected there actually. So it is a very important part for consideration. Okay, and there is another rule that see every horoscope has a Badaka house. For example, those who are born in the movable Rashi, their Badaka is the 11th house and the Rashi in that. Those who are born in the fixed Rashi, their Badaka is the 9th house. Those who are born in the dual Rashi, their Badaka is the 7th house actually. So when we do the horoscope match, if, for example, I will tell you, if this is the sort of dual Rashi, so 7th house is the Badaka. So if this Rashi comes in the Lagna of the boy, then it's the match, or the Lord is there in the Lagna of the boy, then that shows that after the marriage, the Badaka will be activated. So when the Badaka is activated, we will see that boy was doing very good, but after the marriage, suddenly some things happen and he is not able to perform, he loses a job, some issues are there. So sometimes these things are not reflected, but you will see these issues coming up after the marriage. So that is the rule of the Badaka activation in the program. Then there is something known as the Kalathira Dosha. So Kalathira Dosh means the 7th Bhava in a horoscope should not be afflicted. The 7th house or its lord. For example, you have some malefics there, Rahu Ketu is there. So it creates a affliction. Then the Dharaka in a chart also, it should not be afflicted. Dharaka shows the marriage house actually. Then there is something called as a Rahu Ketu Dosha. When Rahu and Ketu occupy the house number 1, 2, 7, and 8. So this is the house 1, 2, 7, and 8. So that also creates issue. So if this is present in a horoscope, in one horoscope, so we have to see that there are planetary combinations in other horoscope which balance out. So the effects are slightly nullified. There is something also called as a Mangala Dosha. So Mars is a very aggressive planet. So it is said that when Mangal occupies the house number 2, 4, 7, 8, and 12, that creates a Mangal Dosha in a chart. So normally it is said that Mangala Dosha is up to the age of 30, 32. After that, its effect is slightly reduced. But when we do the match, we should see whether there is a Mangala Dosha. And if there is a Mangala Dosha, then the other chart should have the balancing, like the girl should also be a sort of Mangalic nature. So that balances the effect of Mangal. Then there is something called as Dasha Limbus, like as I told you, there are sort of Dashas of the planets. When we are born, it starts. So at the time of marriage, so within 18 months, the Dasha should not change of the boy and the girl. Okay, that is first criteria. And sometimes the boy and the girl should not run through the difficult period. For example, 6th house. If the both are running through the Dasha of the 6th house, that will create issue in separation. Okay, if boy is running through 6th house and the girl is running through 8th house, it will again lead to severe issues in the marriage. So when you do the matchmaking, this Dasha period is also seen. Then there is also a concept of sort of divisional charts in Jyotisha. Like we have seen only the main chart. There are D3 chart, D7 chart, D9 chart. So Navamsha chart is very important. So when you do the horoscope match, whatever I have said, you have to also see that in the D9 chart of the boy and the girl. If there are some bad issues in the main chart, but in sort of D9 chart, planets are in a very good position, then we can still go for the match. But If the D9 chart is also having some issues, then we should not go ahead with them. So D9 chart is also very, very important, which is normally not seen by the people. Then there should not be some Nakshatra Veda in the system. Nakshatra Veda means like the boy is born in a specific nakshatra and the girl is also born in a specific nakshatra. So there are some nakshatras which are not compatible to each other. So that has to be seen. And there is something also called as Ek Nakshatra. If the boy and the girl are born in the same nakshatra, only for few the nakshatra it is allowed. It is not allowed for all the nakshatras. So that part also need to be seen while doing the matchmaking. Then we also see in the horoscope the Ayusha or the longevity. Like if you do the match and you see there is severe issue in one chart, and you think that there may be some severe consequences which can lead to the loss of life. Like in Gemini astrology, there is a concept of Uppada Lagna, and the second house from the Uppada Lagna, if it has more than two malefic planets like Mangala, Shani, Rahu, and all, so that shows that there can be a loss of life after the marriage. So this thing should be also seen in the matchmaking. There is a concept of Ashtavarga actually in Parashara system where you have specific scores in each house. So we have to see that the marriage house should have a sort of decent score. Normally, sort of 28 is a good score, so it should have all that. If this house is having very low score, that also shows that there can be severe issues. Also, this sixth house should not be stronger than the seventh house. Seventh house is the house of marriage or your spouse. So sixth house should not be very strong because sixth house creates the loss for the seventh house since it is 12th from the seventh house. So that should be seen. Then see, there are 9 planets in one horoscope and 9 other planets also. So when we do the match, we see at least 50% of the planets combining both the horoscopes should be positive actually. If there are only 30% positive, then it is recommended that we should not go ahead because then there will be issues. So 50% of the grahas should be positive. Then when you do the matchmaking, the proper muhurta has to be selected. Because normally people just see the common muhurta. They don't take into consideration the sort of nakshatra of the boy and the girl. So the nakshatra of both have to be seen, and that should be compatible to the muhurta also. So there are many other sort of doshas which I am not listed because there are hundreds of different yogas. I listed only 15 points which you should see when you go for the horoscope matching actually. Because yes, they create a lot of issue if you not see them. Because we have seen, as I told you, some people which are having 32 points in the Ashtakuta, they also have sort of divorces and all. So because these things are not referred to. So when there are doshas, what should be done? Now somebody will say that okay, we cannot able match. Yes, everything will not match, but majority of them should match. But there will be some doshas always in the horoscopes. So how it gets balanced out is that the expectation and desire create a lot of tussle, in the marriage. And it is seen that people who have very low expectations and very few desires actually, they can sail through very well when these sort of blemishes are present in the horoscope. And we should understand, like if somebody is already married also, and there are some issues in the life, then accept it as it is actually. Because as I told you, there cannot be two horoscopes where you will find everything is 100% match. Okay, some issues are going to be there. And normally we have a lot of desires and expectations from the partner. So if we accept the spouse as it is, then the grahas will not create so much of issues actually. So it is said in astrology, doshas don't harm those without extensive desire and greed. So our attributes also are very important, how we live the life actually. And there is a concept of Rati and Priti also in Jyotisha, like the seventh house of the horoscope, which is ruled by Kamadeva also. So Kamadeva is having two wives, Rati and Priti. It is said that so Rati is like the sensual pleasures in the relationship, and Priti is more about love, affection, and caring. So Rati is normally active up to 30 or so age. After that, the effect of Rati gets decreased, and Priti is more. So we can see if we give more importance to that part of the life, you know, then that can also have some solace in the relationships. Okay, I rushed very fast actually. Prabhuji, are you there? Hare Krishna. Is anybody having any comments, or do you want to ask anything on this part?
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, so I had a question regarding the Kuja dosha or Mangal dosha. So you said that Mangal dosha is formed when the Mars is present in 1, 2, 4, 7, 8, and 12th house, right? I think Lagna also is there, right? It's, Mangal.
So 2, 4, 7, 8, and 12. Yeah.
Lagna also we consider, right?
No.
Okay. So like I am also studying astrology like since now 1.5 years. So what I have heard that this Kuja dosha is nullified or minimized in cases where it is combust or it is exalted or debilitated,
Yeah.
or
So
is it in
there are
own
some
sign
rules
or
also, yes, where the sort
yes,
of dosha gets sort of nullified when, for example, see, that is a part of actually astrology, because I'm not giving a sort of presentation of
right,
astrology here. I'm just saying that these things have to be seen when you do the sort of matchmaking. So these issues have to be seen. But if sort of Mangala is in some Rashi, and that Rashi Lord is very exalted, so then also that helps actually.
right,
So
right, or aspected by Jupiter or Saturn
Jupiter and Saturn
and
also.
combust, or in that case
Correct.
also that gets nullified,
Yeah.
right?
The effect is sort of minimized.
Minimized,
It doesn't
minimized,
get,
yeah, nullified, not
doesn't get
nullified.
sort of nullified fully. There
Yes,
will be some effect when you are having the sort of Mangal dosha. The effect is there. It may not be so severe, but the effect is there actually.
right, right, right. So Proji, one more question here, that you stated all these 15 points. So like
Yeah,
it's, of course you said that it's not possible that all of them will match, and
correct.
it's very difficult. So which conditions out of these should be given more importance,
Yeah,
so that we consider,
correct.
because it's difficult that all of these
Right,
will
right.
match.
It is not going to match actually.
Impossible, yeah.
Right. See, as I told you, if you go to find a match in which everything is getting matched, then for next 2 decades, or you will be sort of swirling the horoscopes. You will not find any good match. So the most I will just go back here. One should see first this thing actually, the nakshatra point which you have told, that the nakshatra of the boy and the girl should not be a 3, 5, 7 from each other. That is the one criteria, and there should not be any sort of nadi dosha in the match. Okay. And then these first 3 points are very critical. This point number 2, 3, and 4. The Lagna Lord and all, the seventh Lord, the seventh Bhavas Lord, and the okay, these should not be at Dui, Dwadasha, Shada, Astaka from each other actually. That is this thing. And there are some other also rules, like you see the affliction of seventh house, and you have to also see from the sort of Navamsha part. This is the basic thing at least you should see if you want to make it very short. And point number 2, 3, 4 should be seen very properly. And there is a concept of Upada Lagna in Gemini astrology, which is important. If you don't even refer all these things, if you just go by the Upada Lagna part, then that will help actually. Even if you see just only that part.
Okay, Proji. Proji, like one more, sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
So Prabhuji, this timing of marriage is also a concern for many of us. Like when
Yes.
we can get married, because it's difficult that the dasha of the seventh lord or the planet sitting in the seventh lord, the dasha of that planet comes. So it's difficult to match. So can you tell the ways by which we can at least plan
Yeah,
the timing? Yeah.
timing is seen actually by that also, and there are other ways also. As I told you, this is a very Gemini astrology is very good into this actually. You have to see there is something called as there are seven karakas in the chart. So the planet with the sort of least degree is known as Dharaka DK. Okay, so Dharaka you have to also see apart from the seventh house or seventh lord. Because Dharaka may be somewhere here also or here also. Okay, but if you are sort of running through a dasha where the Dharaka is also very active, then that can also give you the marriage. Then you have to see it from Uppada Lagna also, as I told you. So these are concepts from sort of Gemini astrology, which are very good in terms of matchmaking. Okay. So apart from sort of Parashara system, you can also refer to Gemini system where you can see, because the Parashara system is very deep and vast like a ocean actually. So, sometimes you are not able to analyze or come to very conclusions here. So it is very good that you go to other uh, astrological, sciences like Gemini system and all, which will help you. And Gemini system has given very good amount of, rules and regulations in regards to the marriage ka timing and all. So we can refer to that also.
Okay, Prabhuji. So Prabhuji, like there are aspects also in astrology, right? So if there are malefic aspects on the seventh house by maybe Shani or Rahu or Ketu, or they're sitting, so that can
Yes.
also cause delay, because Shani generally causes
Yes.
delay. Mangal also can
Shani
cause
will cause,
delay.
even Rahu,
Rahu
Ketu also
Ketu
can
can.
cause some delay actually if they are in this axis, 1-7 axis. So
Right,
Rahu
right.
and,
Or
yeah,
aspecting also.
aspecting also, yes. So that
Okay.
also creates some kind of delay actually. Saturn is a planet of delay actually. So if that Saturn is sort of placed here, or if you have sort of the drishti of Saturn here also, that is also a cause of delay.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavana. Prabhuji,
Yes,
if seventh lord is in 12th house and that too with 3 or 4 planets with application, then what happens?
If seventh lord is in 12th house,
12th house.
okay, with 3 or more planets.
Ha ha.
See, firstly, you have to see that the seventh lord in 12th house may show that the spouse can be from a very distant place, okay, and also which planet it is. So you have to even see that. And the 3 or 4 planets which did the seventh lord, that means your this house is having around 4 planets, right? Okay, so that sometimes show that your 12th house will be lot of active, because if the dashas will come, the after see inside the main period there is sub period also, okay, like of the 9 planets. So when you have 4 planets here, it means this house is going to be constantly active, okay. So that shows even the spouse can be from a foreign land, or after the marriage also you can go and settle there. And when you have sometimes 4 planets here, it is better sort of recommended that that fellow should find a job, and plus if specifically it has connection with the sort of 10th house or so, then he should choose a job where he can stay abroad. Because if he is not staying abroad, then 12वां जो होता है घर, ये थोड़ा खराब माना जाता है. 8, 6 and 12 is known as sort of trig bhava. So when you have lot of planets there, that bhava becomes very much active. So to balance out those sort of negative things, one can go abroad also, settle up. So that's what negates that effect. So
But
it
Prabhuji,
can
in
also
Bhavachali
show.
chart, actually, 4 planets are moving to the 11th house from the 12th.
Sorry.
In Bhavachali chart, the four planets are moving from 12 to 11
Bhav Chalit
hours.
is very different actually. So when you go to Bhav Chalit chart, then you are referring to sort of KP system actually. So in there you have to see the sublord of that house actually. Then you should not see the planet. You have to see the sublord of that planet, and that sublord is connected to which houses actually. That sublord is placed to which sort of nakshatra and who is the lord of that sort of nakshatra. So you have to go in that angle. In Bhav Chalit, you don't see by the placement of the planets. In Bhava Charita, you have to see by who is the sublord of that house actually.
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you. Prabhuji, one more question. Is Kal Sarp dosh authorized by Jyotish Shastra or is it manipulated by modern astrologers?
Kal Sarpa dosha is actually not found in Bharat Parashara Horoshastra. The Bharat Parashara Horoshastra has got many sort of yogas, but this Kal Sarpa is not present over there. So it is only by the research of many people that they have come to this conclusion that there exists a dosha actually by a lot of research. It is not in that science actually. But you see there some people like sort of, so Tendulkar is there, he is also having calves. I don't see any sort of issues in his life.
Prabhuji, what is Brakut dosh? Can you explain?
Sorry?
Brakut dosh. Can you explain about that?
Prakut.
Brakut. If you're...
Where did you also read that?
No, in one of the matchmaking, I was told there's a Brakut dosh.
Prakut. See, there are sort of many sort of doshas, hundreds of them actually.
I think he's referring to the Ashtakut matchmaking number 7, Bakut dosh, Rashi dosh.
No, not that. There is something in relation to Brakut, I think, I suppose. I'm not,
okay.
I don't know.
There are many hundreds of, as I told you, there are hundreds of doshas. So I'm not sure because if I can sort of read about it, then I can tell you, but I don't remember all of them. So
Okay.
see, I have just sort of listed here a few important considerations. There are hundreds of doshas actually, but you cannot find a match where you can just be sort of free of all doshas. So what is important which you should see in the matchmaking part? I just sort of listed those 3 points mainly. If you go through these and if the horoscope is having a decent amount of match, then there is no problem in going ahead with the matching.
Prabhuji, also like some of the natives may be born in Jeshta, Ashlesha or Mula nakshatra, which are considered Kru nakshatras, or many more, Magha also and some more. So do they need to do Shanti and...
Some nakshatras are Kru in such, I will chart. Okay, for example, you are born here, okay. If somebody is born from any, this is the sort of criteria by which we define which nakshatras are good for that particular individual or not. Every nakshatra is not good for all. There is no standard rule actually. So when one is born, you have to align the nakshatras in the rows of 999 in the same order actually. And the nakshatra in this 3, 5, and 7 are considered as bad nakshatras. These like sort of vipata. When these nakshatras are there, they will bring some problems in your life actually. Okay, then the 5 number pratyari will bring the problems in your life, challenges, obstacles. Pada is known as like even so death-like situation will come in this part. So this will change to every individual because everyone is born in sort of different nakshatra. So his cycle will change. So it's not a standard thing that this is bad or this is good actually. For you, some nakshatra can be good actually, and for some other person, it can be bad actually.
Okay, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Prabhuji, there are sometimes remedies given according to astrology, like if there is some dosha, so some
Yes.
remedy. So to what extent matlab, for whatever 3-4 important things you said, or all of them. So are there any remedies, or these are like uncompromisable factors?
See, if you have some, see, I will tell you frankly, go to some chart and see, there are planets actually, okay, they are occupying specific locations in your house. When their sort of dashas will come, they are going to award you the results. So results are going to be there. If there are some afflictions in the chart, the results are going to come. But it is said that these issues which I have told you, that not having excessive greed and desire and those things, they help to somewhat mitigate. See, like Parashara Muni has told, around 60% of what is happening to you, it is out of your hands actually, which is like sort of prefixed or like your birth in a place, what is going to come, Prarabdha, that is not beyond your control. Around 40% is said to be like the actions and activities which you do in the present life. They also bear some kind of a reaction. So if you do some good, if you do some proper actions, so they also have some result in this life also. Majority of you, 60% is out of your reach, 40% is still sort of within your control. So planets, when they are in the malefic positions or when they come with some negative effects, those effects are going to come. But you can slightly mitigate them by properly following the dharma and all. If somebody is not following the rules and regulations properly, the dharma, then the planets may give more effect actually. So some amount of mitigation is there. But as I told you, if there is some affliction in the horoscope, you have to face music actually. You have to face some part of it.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna
Yes.
Prabhuji, it is said that Pati, Pashu, Sut, Alaya, these four things are predestined. So,
can you again repeat?
Pati means spouse, the person who is going to get. Huh?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji. In one verse, it is said that Pati, Pashu, Sut, Alaya, these four things are predestined. So we have no choice. Means the thing which we are going to get in that particular time period, they are bound to get.
Yes.
So like that spouse is going to come. So that particular time period. So we don't have any choice. It is anyway. It is going to come.
Understand? As I told you, 60% is sort of predefined. As Parashara Muni is told, about 60% is predefined. Okay, but 40% is still in your hand. If everything is sort of predefined, then there is no concept of sort of free will in one's person, one's life. Then one can't do anything. So there are things which are sort of predefined, and there are some things which are also a part of the free will part. So why we should do, if somebody is saying that I have some sort of malefic effect in my 7th house, then I should not see the sort of matchmaking part. I will just go ahead and have my marriage. So you are exercising your free will, right, to get a match. And if that match, okay, if the combination is not good actually, then the severity of the issue will increase more, because you have exercised your free will in that way. But if you are exercising your free will in such a way that you are going for a horoscope matching and all, you find a match where things can get balanced out. So that minimizes that part. But as I told you, if you are having some issues in your horoscope, then things will come, but still, whatever is in your hand as a part of free will, you can exercise that right also. It is a combination effect. It is not like sort of binary, either or.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, regarding that Chandra, nakshatra matching,
Yes.
you told like it should not be 3, 5, 7. Exactly what that means? It's something relative position, or
this one?
yeah, Prabhu. This one.
Okay.
So
See,
what exactly this?
for
Yeah.
example, if somebody is born in sort of Ashvina, okay, this is sort of Janma Nakshatra. So you have to align in the columns in the rows of 999. Okay, so you will get 3 cycles of it. Okay, after 9, the next Rashi will come here in time actually. So whatever, if you are born in sort of Punar Asu, then you write Punar Asu here, and you go 9, 9, and 9. So you will cover all the nakshatras, and in that, the 3rd, 5th, and 7th sort of standard are considered as bad nakshatras.
Okay. So,
And
yeah,
when you even do the horoscope match, if for example you are here, okay, you are born in the Ashwini, then the spouse nakshatra should not be in the 3. The spouse should not be in 3, or spouse should not be in 5. Spouse should not be in 7 also.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah, it's like that.
So Proji, like
Yes.
if some horoscope comes to us and we have to do our match for us ourselves, then we should check the Ashtakut or not then, because this seems to be
Yes.
more
To
relevant.
start with, yes, you can do initial screening. You can do.
Okay.
It's like,
So
for
even
example,
if
if
that
you
is
have
not,
sort of 10 horoscopes, okay, then you
Mhm.
just first do the match. If you get sort of 4 after them are okay, then you should go for the next part of these things actually.
okay, so initial should be Ashtakut
Because
only.
you cannot see, for this you have to maybe go to some professional astrologer also to do the matchmaking part. So if you give him some 10 horoscopes, then he will charge you then for each horoscope. So some
Okay.
amount of sort of screening you can do at your end only. And if you think that, yeah, I feel these two are okay, then you can go and approach one sort of professional astrologer, and then he can tell you, yeah, which one is good for out of them.
Okay. Okay.
So you
Because
can do
it has become very complex nowadays that sometimes the Ashtakut is fine, but the
yeah,
girl is not much like we don't like the girl much, or opposite
correct,
also happens. We like some girl,
right,
but Ashtakut is okay, and maybe horoscope also matches. So
right.
it becomes very difficult in that cases.
Yes, it is like that. Correct.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Broji. Dandot. Hare Krishna,
Hare
Broji.
Krishna, Prabhu.
Last question, Broji. If there are 2 expert devotee astrologer, if they charge more than 5,000 per consultation, and it has happened with me several times that they are totally opposite in their predictions. So whom should we put to faith, and how to look at this conflicting situation?
Well, I will say that some basic things, some rules which I told you, they are like sort of standard rules. Okay. So there should not be any sort of Veda between the two astrologers. But yeah, if some astrologer has not studied well, actually, I will give a simple example of my teacher. He was saying that once he got a chart for matchmaking from a royal, family from Bhopal actually. So there were 2 royal families, and they wanted that the boy and girl should get matched up actually. So their horoscope was shown to many astrologers, and people were saying, no, it is not a good match. Should not go ahead. You will have issues. So then that chart came to my teacher's place. So when he thought, he did the matchmaking from this Gemini system, which I told you, Upada Lagana and all the references. So he found when we go to that part, it was having a good match, a reasonable okay match, not a very good match. There is but since the families were very keen to come ahead, and to form a alliance between 2 royal families. So he told that you can go ahead actually, while other astrologers were not recommending. So he told me that now it is almost for 30 years have gone. So their life is quite good. They have a kid also. So it's okay. So yes, some amount of diagnosis is there from different astrology, but basic rules will remain same. See, rules can't change so much. somebody in only Parashara system, if somebody knows only the Parashara system, and sometimes he cannot see from others' perspective, like Jamie's perspective. But if from Jamie's perspective it is a okay match, then one can still go ahead actually. So it's like that.
Prabhuji, like the transits also play a role here, right? So if we decide that I want to
Transits
get
are
married in
more
this
like
age and Disha is also coming, but transit is not supporting. So
transits are more like for delivery boys, you know. Like for
hmm
example, if your sort of so Dasha is there, okay, like seventh house is okay, done to see that seventh lord is now in my Dasha, I can get married and all. But at that time, there should be, we see only the transit of two planets mainly, Jupiter and Saturn, because they are the two important total planets. So
hmm
if in the transits you get a period where there is some aspect or conjunction with the planet, then it gets sort of fructified. So
okay.
transit's role is seen only in that part.
hmm Like final fructification, not the overall
Yes,
judgment of
yes,
horoscope.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Hare Krishna. Right. Proji, like in an extreme case, is there a chance for someone that there is no marriage in their kundali? Like
Yes.
for like there are many like brahmacharis who stay, and is that, can we see that in the astrology, or it's just a choice of 40-60?
See, what happens? I can show you one only we can take. See, this is a horoscope, okay? So if someone is too much into celibacy and all, if somebody wants to join a ashram, so what happens? Your Shadabhava has to be very strong actually. Why? Because this is the house of your spouse. So what sort of negates the effect of this house is your Shadabhava, sixth bhava. So if your sixth bhava is quite strong, then that person can opt for celibacy life actually. But if this house gets very strong and this house is quite weak, then what happens, you know? Then obviously some part of free will is also there. Someone can choose to become a sort of brahmachari, and for 8-10 years he's sort of brahmachari. But ultimately, if this bhava is quite strong, that at a later stage he may feel a sort of need or a desire to get married also. But if your sixth bhava is very strong, and you also have some connection between the fifth and the ninth, which are very sort of important for spirit. Marrying now is not a solution. If somebody is not getting married, you know, and but he has some physical relationships outside, that doesn't make any sense actually. So somebody who wants to be in a ashrama, like sort of brahmacharis are there. So not getting married means sixth power should be strong. Apart from them, the fifth and ninth should also be strong and should have some connection. These are known as spiritual bhavas actually, fifth and ninth.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, like one on a fundamental level, one question was that nowadays, at least during my birth, the scissoring concept was started, where like artificially you can bring out the child. And nowadays, even like some of my friends were asking if there is a good muhurat, that time we can plan to bring out the baby out, maybe around 9 months whenever possible. Sometimes people do plan painless delivery and all those things. So that time, which time can should be considered, because in a way it's little artificial. So that time also it will work or it will not.
Yeah, see, the sort of rule says when the Jivatma is born out of the womb in this world, that is sort of taken as his sort of birth chart's time. Okay. So yes, when you are born, at that time only that specifies. So if somebody is sort of planning for a for the child, see what really happens. You can plan for a day or two only. You cannot say that I want to postpone by 2 months or so. There are some planets can change their rashis and all. Planets do change from house to house at least once in months or once in a year. But what actually changes is the rashis actually. Okay? Rashis do change every 2 hours. So one can see if there is a good time, then he can plan at that time also.
Okay, Pradeep. There are some questions in chat if you wish to.
Oh, Rashi is rising Rashi means, can you explain? Okay. Say, rising Rashi means, for example, this is the horizon of the earth. Okay, so here, if you are sort of standing here, you can see horizon. This is the east horizon, this is the west horizon. So earth is stationary here. We say that earth is stationary. So the zodiac is moving around, right? The zodiac is all 360 degrees around, and the zodiac is consisting of different nakshatras and the rashis. So it is constantly on the motion. So at the time of the birth, whichever Rashi is sort of transiting this east part of the horizon, that is known as the sort of rising Rashi. This is the Earth's horizon, actually. And outside it is all zodiac. So, so the rising Rashi means when you are born at that time, which Rashi is sort of rising at this part. It can be somebody is born at night or day, anything, but constantly the Rashis are moving around every 2 hours. So the rising Rashi is actually. And then the question was, okay, they wanted me to share my phone number and all. Okay. Astrologers may ask to worship the demigods for getting rid of some problems about marriage. But in our philosophy, it is condemned to worship the demigods. What are your views? Okay. See, if you are having a toothache, okay, if you are having a toothache, a problem in your tooth, then you go and see a dentist, right? You don't say that no, I won't go. I will just sort of chant extra rounds. It doesn't solve the problem. Similarly, in this material world, if there are some issues, then one can go to the demigods. But obviously, one is not submitting to for demigods. One may do some remedy for some part, and then move away. If somebody is doing that, it's not so bad, because ultimately, for the sake of higher cause, like you want to be fixed in devotion service and all these things. So if you are having some issues in the meantime, you want to solve it so that you can focus more on the sort of spirituality part. Better to take care of that. If you don't sort of take care of that, then your spiritual life is also suffered, right? So it is better that you do some remedies, and obviously those remedies should not be like, which sort of break some regulative principles and all. As far as that is sort of taken care of, there should not be any problem as such. So one can do some remedies. If other things you said are fine, but Guna Milan is 18 and Adi and Bogut are 0, what should be done? So in this case, if you have some sort of Nadi dosha and all, then you should go to a proper astrologer. Here he can check for other combinations also. And if other combinations are okay, and you have a good scope, then in Nadi dosha also there are some rules and regulations that in some cases you can match. So that is sort of taking care. Then you should go ahead actually. I think these are the only questions in the chat. Anybody is having any other question? Haribo?
Krishna Prabhuji, Dandak. Prabhuji, Venus Saturn conjunction, tight conjunction in second house, does that indicate less interest or no interest in marriage?
Venus. See, when we do also the matchmaking, I am not sure listed all things. We have to see some three planets also, like Shukra has to be seen, then Mangala has to be seen, and Jupiter has to be seen. Okay. So if Shukra is severely afflicted in a chart, that shows that there can be some relationship issues. Okay. So Shukra only in the second house with Saturn, you told, no? Right?
Yes, Prabhuji. Venus Saturn, tight conjunction.
So then you have to see the entire chart, Prabhuji, because it can't be said actually that just by seeing one combination we cannot do any conclusion. So you have to see the chart in entirety, and then you can see whether there is any affliction to the seventh house also, and then you have to also see the position of the Venus into Navamsha chart, and then you can come to some kind of a conclusion whether it is a bad shift or not. Otherwise, just by Venus Saturn combination, it's not so bad actually, because Saturn and Venus are okay. I think they are into same club.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Someone has written a question once. Can you one small clarification? I have one horoscope match where the astrologer said the match is very good to go ahead. Now the girl and myself are also okay with each other based on our discussions and that information. But girl parents are not community difference. Well, well, this question is not connected to Jyotisha part actually. I will try to, you can connect me directly on this. I can just sort of write to you. Whatever that message. Do you want me to sort of put my number here? If any one of you is wants to ask me any questions sort of later.
Yeah, you can just share your number if you don't mind.
Yeah, because all things can't be covered here once.
Prabhuji, even if we want to make a horoscope match, so means we can request with you, means how?
Well, I have not started that actually doing it because, sort of frankly speaking, I am quite sort of busy with my own profession, and normally for this thing you have to spend a lot of time. So yeah, one or two cases I can do. I cannot do it like if hundreds of horoscopes come. So I won't be able to give the justice to all. I will try my best if I can share.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Okay, Haribol. Anybody is having any other question?
Yeah, thank you very much, Prahladnath Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, I hope.
Actually, sort of this was my sort of first sort of presentation. Maybe it was not very perfect because I just tried to compile some things.
No, it's fine.
That is
You
okay.
gave a good overview of the chart and rashis and everything. It's actually important for everyone to know some basic details like this, so that
Yes, correct.
when they talk to some astrologer, they will also understand what is happening. Yeah.
Yes.
So of course, we will see later if there is some interest, or we
Yeah,
can
yeah.
think about having a little bit larger course if needed.
Yes, we can do that. At a later stage, we can do that. Probably.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you all very much. Yeah. Haribol. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Bol. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Very- very-